Thanks for tuning in to A Little Daily Bread, as it is. Today we're going to be talking about someone that a lot of folks probably have never heard of. We're going to talk about Zenas the lawyer, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. We read about him in just the tail end of the book of Titus. In Titus chapter 3, let's get over there. And this is not Titus chapter 3, this is Matthew, so I need to get over there too. In Titus chapter 3, towards the end of the letter, in Paul's conclusionary remarks, he mentions this individual. So in Titus chapter 3, verse 12, when I send Artemas to you, or Tychicus, be diligent to come to me at Nicopolis, for I have decided to spend the winter there. Send Zenas the lawyer and Apollos on their journey with haste, that they may lack nothing. And let our people also learn to maintain good works, to meet urgent needs, that they may not be unfruitful. To look at the passage and to think about this individual, and I believe this is the only time that he's spoken about, if I remember correctly, Zenas the lawyer. Send Zenas the lawyer. Obviously, he was one of the faithful brethren, and one of those who was traveling on their journey, as it is. So, what points can we make? What points can we make about this individual? Well, I would suggest one point that we can make is this: he could work and he could co-work. Again, look at the passage, and I know these are simple points, but to look at the passage, send Zenas the lawyer and Apollos on their journey with haste. Look like they're probably perhaps traveling together. So here's an individual who can work and he can co-work. Sometimes people, for one thing, working in and of itself is becoming a rarity. But to think about doing the Lord's work, that's always been a rarity. And it's perhaps becoming even more rare. I don't know. But here's an individual, he was willing to work. He could work. And not only could he could work with someone else. And that is even more rare. I think sometimes a lot of folks, they like to work independently. They want to work alone. They want to work alone so they can go at their pace, at their own pace. They want to work alone so that they don't, because of everything that goes along with that. And you just think about it. Just think about it. A lot of people would prefer to work alone. Well, this fellow was able to work with someone else. What sort of traits does a person need to have to be able to work with someone else? Trustworthiness, faithfulness, helpfulness, bearing their own load, but also bearing the burden of others. Just think about the idea of working with others. And that's what we need to be doing in the Lord's church. It's one thing to work alone, and there are times where we will need to work alone. But we also need to learn to work with others. And here's someone who did exactly that. He could also hasten. Paul says in his remarks to Titus, he says, send them on their journey with haste. So here's an individual who hastened. You remember Zacchaeus up in the tree? Jesus says, come down. I'm going to eat with you today. And he made haste as he came down. He hastened. I can't remember I think the Lord might have told him to hasten. But he could hasten. Anymore, a lot of people, it's tempting. I should just say it's tempting. It's tempting to drag our feet. It is tempting to procrastinate. It's tempting to say, tomorrow we will do this or that. You know, when that passage is spoken about in James, right? Tomorrow we will do this or that. James makes the point, those who know to do good and do not do it, to them it is sin. Don't say tomorrow, tomorrow. We should say, if the Lord wills. But if you know to do something good today, then do it. And do it hastily. Get it done. Get it done. Hasten to it. Don't dawdle. Don't drag your feet. Get to it. Stop saying, I'll do it another day. I'll do it when I'm older. I'll do it when the kids get a little more grown up. I'll do it when I have more time. What ends up happening usually is it never gets done. Get it done. Hasten to it. Zenas, he could work, he could co-work, and he got to it. he could hasten. He could accept help as well. What Paul says is, send Zenas the lawyer on their journey with haste, that they may lack nothing. That they may lack nothing. So Zenas was the sort of individual who could accept help. Not everybody can accept help. Remember when Jesus is washing the disciples' feet, and he goes through, and then he gets to Peter, and Peter says, "You ain't washing my feet." And Jesus says, "If I don't wash your feet, you have no part in me." And Peter rightfully says, "Not just my feet, but everything." Right? Well, sometimes people don't want to receive help. I would suggest receiving help is inherent. Inherit's not the right word. It is a part. Inherent is the word I was looking for. Receiving help is inherent to being a Christian, because we have to receive the Lord's help. And as much as we try to help others, if everybody had the same attitude of, well, I don't want you to help me, well, then nobody would help anybody. Sometimes we need to be on the giving end of help, but sometimes we need to be on the receiving end of help. And Zenas was the sort of individual that could accept help. And in that, he's a good example for us. He could work, he could co-work, he got to it, and he could accept help, and he could be sent. Paul says to Titus, send Zenas and Apollos. He could be sent. A lot of times, it's real tempting. And we know how the world works. Everybody wants to be a finger pointer. Everybody wants to say, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that. Everybody wants to be a finger pointer, and nobody wants to be on the receiving end. Everybody wants to be the sender, and nobody wants to be the sendee. We have to be willing to be sent. It is a part of humility. That's what it is. It is a part, and as we think about humility and we're humble towards others, if we're not humble towards others, we're probably not going to be humble towards Jesus. Jesus is the ultimate sender. He's the ultimate sender, but he also was sent, learning obedience even to the point of death. Here Zenas is, and Zenas could be sent. We should be humble, and we should follow suit in these points. And you might think about the individual. It's the only passage I believe that we have about him. But perhaps there are other points that you might think about with him as well. Just a short verse, but I hope it's been beneficial for you. Hope the study's been edifying to you. Hope you have a good day. I appreciate you tuning in. Hope to see you tomorrow for another brief look into God's Word. Thanks for being with us today.